Hi, and welcome to the Ask Sue show. I do apologise about that. All the fun. Let's just go straight to the phone line, shall we? Right, what it is, I'm literally on Blog Talk Radio. It literally wouldn't let me go straight back live again because obviously I was literally at 12 o'clock and it was like trying to put me on the last show, but I wanted to go on the next one. So I do apologise about that. All the fun of a UK host trying to do a 4-hour show straight one back to back. So I do apologise for that. Hope everybody's all okay. Literally, please go and have a look at the Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Ask Sue Radio Show, and also facebook.com/AGM4 NYC ACC. So let's, with no further ado, go to our next guest. Aubrie, hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Sue?
I'm a little stressed out after that, so I'll let you start talking. I was literally screaming at my laptop going, no, don't do this now.
That's okay. You got it figured out. You overcame the technology.
Oh, my word. I think it was the fact that Blog Talk couldn't work out. Why on earth would a UK host want to do 4 hours show?
See, someone was trying to tell you that you're working too hard, right?
I'm trying. Right, so Aubrie, tell everybody about yourself.
Okay, well, I live in Alabama. I work in the legal field by day. And I became an animal welfare advocate a little over 10 years ago after we had a loss in our family, and it just kind of changed things. I manage a platform called Pause for Change, which is both a website, and I do volunteer work to help nonprofits and animal rescue groups. And I also lead a advocacy group in Huntsville, Alabama called No Kill Huntsville, which formed for the purpose of trying to get the city of Huntsville to reform the way in which the tax-funded animal shelter operated to keep more animals alive.
So you don't do much then, no?
Excuse me?
Oh, dear. Where do we start with NYCACC? Because obviously you've also done a book, haven't you, recently as well?
I have. Yeah, I'm not in touch with what's going on with New York so much. I know people across the country that are doing different things in their areas, but yeah, after we spent a number of years trying to change things in Alabama, we got contacted a lot by people who wanted to know what we did and, kind of lessons learned kind of thing to get our advice. And we decided that probably the best way to do it would be to put it in book form so that people had something to refer to. And because I'm the founder of the group, I did put it in book form, so it's a little bit my story, but then it's also the story of what we did in Huntsville, Alabama to try to bring about change. Yeah.
And absolutely amazing, and that's exactly what I wanted you on the show tonight. I mean, obviously we've had the lovely Mike and Davyd, they've done exactly the same. So tell us where you started. How did you come about with it in the first place? What was your first part of it?
Well, I was raised in an animal-friendly household. I mean, we always had pets when we were kids, and they were just, part of the family, quirks and all, and, they were valued as much as the people in the family. A lot of them had human names, and that's just the way I grew up. And I think I kind of figured that everybody was the same way. And just as I got older, we continued to have animals. I met and married a wonderful guy that I met in Germany in the Army, and he was a dog guy. So he accuses me now of speaking with a cat accent because I was raised with cats. But I'm a convert. I'm now a dog person, and we had a dog that my husband Rich had rescued in Northern California. She was a German Shepherd Coyote mix named Snake. So it meant that she looked like a German Shepherd, but in the body of a coyote. She was small and compact and athletic. And he'd saved her from a terrible situation where she had led the first 2 years of her life with a chain around her neck, and she was just completely shut down when he adopted her. But he worked hard with her, he rehabilitated her, and she ended up becoming a beloved member of our family. We got married after he had saved her, and she was with us for 16 years. And we got to the point where we knew that the end of her life was coming. I mean, there was a quality of life issue, so on Earth Day of 2006, we had her euthanized to keep her from suffering. And we knew that was coming, but I think that after that happened, I just wasn't coping particularly well. So I decided to start donating to our local animal shelter every month in her honor, thinking, well, maybe I can do something to help another animal who might be in a kind of similar circumstance to make their quality of life better. And I did that for a number of months until I was on the website for the animal shelter one day, and there was a video there that was intended to promote the animal shelter. And I watched it for a while, and it showed about what they do and showed happy pictures of animals, but then the tone of it changed, and it got to the point where I saw an image of a beagle being removed from a kennel and walked down a hall, and he, by outward appearances, was happy, healthy, was taken to a room, and in the background I hear a voice narrating that they try to save all the animals, but they just can't save them all. And I quickly realized what they were doing was they had taken the dog to a room to destroy the dog. And so I turned the video off as quickly as I could because it upset me. I mean, my heart started to race. I could feel my face burning. I mean, I didn't know that was coming, and it just shocked me. And finally got the video turned off, calmed down, and the next day I contacted the shelter to find out what happened to the dog. And what I was told in an email was, nobody wants beagles these days. And those 5 words just got etched into my brain, and I got upset and I got angry, and I decided I had to learn what was happening at my local animal shelter because I was totally unaware prior to that point. I think I felt I knew what was going on, but I really was completely out of touch with the fact that they were destroying perfectly healthy animals. And I started educating myself and learned about no-kill philosophies, and that just began my advocacy.
Yeah. And do you know what? It is just those little things that start us off, isn't it, to make a big impact. I think, do you know what? I think every single advocate will have one, memory that just got us. Do you know what I mean? And I think this thing is every single day we see different dogs, and I think we get a bit oblivious to it, but there's always that one dog that will catch us now and again. Do you know what I mean? A bit more than the others.
I think so. I think a lot of people that I know in my circles, they come to advocacy either through some personal loss or some situation which causes them to become outraged. And then they take that outrage and they channel it into action. Now, not everybody does that, but people that just somehow it's like a light switch flipping off, and it changes their thinking, and they decide that it's important enough for them that they need to become outspoken about it, and they need to tell others about it in order to hopefully be part of social change. Yeah.
Mine was, I literally had a dog called Miracle that I went and rescued. She was a Rottweiler, and I'd never had Rottweilers before. My mate rung me up and said, Sue, I need you to come and help me with something. You're the perfect person. And tells me the story about this dog's being abused, and I went, listen, it's not very often I'm going to say this. I said, but you know what, I'll come with you, but I'm not talking. And she went, what do you mean you're not talking? She went, you can't do that. And I went, no, I'm not talking, because if I start talking, I'll lose my head and something will blow. So, yeah, I'll come and get the dog. Yes, I'll save it, but everything, but I can't talk. Unfortunately for me, that didn't last very long because when I got to the door, the girl had drugs. Her eyes were rolling back and red, and she was 15. This little pup literally ran towards me like a bag of bones. She was 14 weeks old and weighed under 4 kilos in weight.
Oh, my gosh.
That girl, I don't care what anybody says, that little pup knew that I was coming. I can't explain it. I picked her up. I literally put her on my shoulder. She snuggled her head into my neck, and that's where she stayed for the whole hour while I told this person in no uncertain terms what a waste of space she was. And anyway, I took Miracle, as we called this, straight to the vets. The vet said to me, he said, bring her back in a couple of days. Let's see how she's getting on. I went back 2 days later, and I walked in to this little, still bag of bones, but looking a little bit better and a bit more cheerful. She's literally running behind my heels, you know what I mean? She didn't want to leave her mum, that was it, do you know what I mean? So we went into the vets, and my vet literally turned and went, oh, my God. And I went, what? And he went, I wasn't expecting that. I went, what do you mean you weren't expecting that? And he went, she was dying, Sue. All her main organs are actually starting to shut down. I didn't say to you because I know if anybody's going to save her, you would, and you've just proved to me I was right in what I did. And she literally, all her main organs are shutting down. She was under 4 kilos in weight, and she was a bag of bones. And do you know what? She was the most faithful, most beautiful dog I've ever wished to meet. And I had 2 other dogs as well, but they were my brother's dogs. And she was absolutely beautiful. But she died with literally cancer in her teat in the end. But the most faithful dogs, and it just confirmed to me when I have people that were crossing the road because I was holding a Rottweiler, and I used to say to them, do you know what, you're looking down on my dog? I said, there's a much worse breed than that dog, you know. And she said, what's that? And I said, the human race itself.
Yep.
And
I knew you were going to say that. Wow. How many years did you have her?
I had her for just over 10 years.
Wow.
And
that's
honestly,
amazing.
even talking about it now, I can feel a lump coming throat because she was my girl. She really was my girl. And I actually rescued one of her brothers as well because she got a litter there. Miracle was the worst one. The other brother I got rehomed, and the others I actually took to her ex-partners, and I made him go and take them all to the vets. They all got their inoculations and everything, and I actually went and checked up on them all and everything. But I got them all out of that situation. So, that's the one that gets me, that really does, like, gets my little heart going.
Well, I think it's situations like that, they just end up putting you on a different path, and maybe a path that you didn't choose for yourself, you didn't expect, but once it happens, you just end up going in a different direction. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was always an animal advocate anyway, not just for dogs or anything. I mean, I rescued wildlife and everything, but, you know, we just have those things that just trigger us into something, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, if somebody said to me a few years ago I'd be talking to somebody in New York at 12:30 at night, you know, talking about New York, for God's sake, they said, you must be mad. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's not like you woke up one day and said, I think this is what I'm going to do. It just, it became compelling for you, and exactly. Now you feel like you have to do it. Exactly. So I just want to, you know, make that difference. But, you know, you're doing a book and spending that time, you know, I think this is the thing. Us advocates spend so much time. I mean, how long did the book take you to write and put together? It actually only took a few months, and the reason for that is because on my website, I've been blogging about a number of issues. It's not just about no-kill philosophies, but things like puppy mills and breed bans and you know, how to care for community cats through something we call TNR, which is trap, neuter, and return to reduce their populations. And so I had a lot of content on my personal blog, and then with No Kill Huntsville, our advocacy group, we have a social media presence, but we also have a fully developed website because we realize that not everyone does social media. And it's kind of a fickle platform anyway in many ways. People just kind of, you know, glance at things and then they go on. They don't really... oftentimes people don't read in depth because they don't have time. So we had been blogging on our website too. So I had met with a woman last summer in August named Ann Tage. She was considering doing the second of 2 documentary films about the no-kill movement happening across America. And we talked for a while, and at one point she said, you know, you should write a book. And I think I kind of laughed at the time because I just dismissed the idea, thinking to myself, well, you know, why would I do that, or who would even read it? But then as time went on and things began to improve to a point in Huntsville where I felt like we would be doing less work to push the city harder, I thought, well, you know what, that might be of value because like I said, we do get contacted by people from across the country. I mean, it's not typical, but I got an email from a woman in Australia shortly after we had that conversation, and I started thinking, you know, maybe it would help other people because during the years when we were working so hard to try to get the city to change, we were networking with people and having phone conversations and sending email messages. But had there been a book, kind of like a how-to book for us to use, it probably would have helped us in our advocacy. So the thought was to explain part of what we were doing to maybe help other people. And a lot of what's in the book honestly has been written about before. I don't know if Mike or David spoke about it, but we promote a philosophy. It's called the no-kill philosophy, and we all promote a methodology called the no-kill equation, which was first set out in a book in 2007 written by a man named Nathan Winograd, who's the founder of the No-Kill Advocacy Center in Oakland, California.
I want him on my show, just for the record.
You should, because the thing with Nathan is that he didn't invent no-kill. I mean, I think Mike probably told you about his mother, Marlene Foote, who was doing no-kill sheltering back in the 1970s when nobody was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there have been people advocating for what no-kill philosophies are for decades, but what Nathan did was he took his experiences in a few locations and he developed this thing called the equation, which it's kind of, he calls it an equation because it's an all-in proposition. In other words, you can't remove any of the elements to get the desired result. You have to have them all. It's kind of like a well-oiled machine where these programs work together. And they're dual purpose in nature. They work to both reduce the number of animals entering the shelter, and they also function to get animals out of the shelter more quickly. So one whole section of my book is about the no-kill equation. And Nathan wrote about that in his book. It's called Redemption, The Myth of Pet Overpopulation and the No-Kill Revolution in America. And at the time he wrote it, it was really quite controversial because some of the things that he said in the book just went against conventional wisdom in the United States. I mean, I think people felt like a lot of animals were dying because we had too many of them, or, you know, there was just no other way to function. And Nathan really pulled the lid back from that to show, no, it doesn't have to be this way. This is a choice, and this is how you bring about change. So I thought it was important to include a whole section of that in my book to explain what the no-kill equation is, and then give some examples of how it works. And then I go in the book and there's a chapter called Our Huntsville Story, which talks about how we use the equation to apply it to what was going on in our city and try to get the city to embrace these programs to bring about life-saving. And it was a struggle for a number of years, quite honestly, but we're at a point now, 7 years on after our group formed, where the city of Huntsville will tell you that they have not destroyed any healthy and treatable animals for more than 4.5 years, going on 5 years, and they have what's called a live release rate of above 90%. And we don't focus on that statistic. The number is not the goal, but the number is an indicator of progress. So things have changed greatly. And our hope is, even though our story in Huntsville is not a perfect story, we didn't get exactly everything we wanted, we hope it's helpful to other advocates to read just about some fundamentals and about what we did and some of the things we learned along the way. There's a whole section in there about advice and lessons learned, in hopes that people will read it and either consider what's happening in their area or just feel empowered maybe to do something about it. Because a lot of people don't know what's going on, but once they find out what's going on, then the next question is like, well, what can I as one person do? What can we do? I mean, we're talking about government-run shelters using tax dollars. How can we – there's this phrase in America, you know, you can't fight City Hall. Well, you can. You just have to have a plan, and you have to be informed on your subject, and you have to go about it logically and pragmatically and respectfully, not running around with your hair on fire, screaming and name-calling, but just logically saying we're better than this and we can spend our money in different ways. So I do hope that the book will help some people. That ultimately is the goal. No money is being made on it. It's just out there. If people buy it, they're just paying the cost to have it printed. Yeah.
And do you know what? Your last probably 3 sentences is exactly what I've been saying about we need a plan, we need a goal, and we need to be organized. I can't work all up in the air. Do you know what I mean? I go on groups and it's like I come off it and I feel exhausted because I've gone through 50 posts and I'm like, I come off the 50 posts and it's like, what was it they wanted me to do? Do you know what I mean? And I can't work like that. And I look at advocates and they've all said the same. We just need a little bit of organisation, and so we know what plan we're doing, and so we can all be singing off the same hymn sheet.
Right, and I think it's not enough to be upset or to be angry or be outraged. Those things are all good, but then you can't just go, to a government organization and say, we don't want this, fix it. I think you don't really get very far with that because these organizations, they are invested in the status quo. I mean, change is difficult for organizations as much as it is for people. And none of us really like change, right? Okay. So, but trying to get a tax-funded organization to change, whether it's an animal shelter run directly by the government or some part of the government, or even if it's a nonprofit that's funded by tax dollars, like the operation is outsourced by the government to a nonprofit, trying to get them to change is incredibly difficult. So it's not enough to say, we don't like what you're doing and you want to do it differently. You have to take that one step further and say, we want you to do it differently, but we can help you with that. We can show you how. We can show you the tools, and we can help explain to you these programs that are working across the country to bring about change. And ultimately, that's what happened in Huntsville. We got to a point when we started. Actually, the live release rate at our animal shelter was 25%, which meant that 3 out of every 4 animals entering the building was destroyed. And at the time that was happening in 2012. I think the city thought that's just the way it was. It wouldn't get any better. The shelter director is a veterinarian, so I think that people just presumed that surely she would not be destroying animals unless there was no other way. So there was a lot of resistance to change, which is part of why we had to get essentially, we don't use the P word often, but we are a political advocacy group because we were always seeking municipal accountability for the way the shelter operated. So ultimately, though, there was we had a new official come in a senior capacity with the city, and we approached him, and we finally got somebody that would essentially listen to us and say, I agree with what you're saying. It's logical. It makes sense. We know this is what the public wants. And so once we had someone that was willing to hear our message and not become defensive about it or think that it was some type of personal attack, which it never was. It's always been about how our tax dollars are spent, then things began to change. But you do need to have a plan. It's not enough to be outraged and to say, fix this, because then the response is, well, what exactly do you expect us to do? And that's where this thing called the no-kill equation comes in. And it really is the genius of it is, and I say this in the book, and Mike and David probably said something about it, it's a one-size-fits-all solution, right? Every place is different. Every place has different challenges and different resources, and no community is exactly the same as the other. They all have different, the public has different attitudes. Maybe one's got a newer building, maybe one's got an older building that's smaller. But you can take the no-kill equation and you can look at what's currently being done in any community for each of the 11 programs of the no-kill equation, learn about what other places are doing, and then work to develop those programs within that community. And it doesn't matter if it's New York City, which I understand is huge and serves a huge population, or a tiny little town in Texas like Segoville, Texas. It doesn't matter because the equation can be used anywhere, and it can be molded and shaped to fit the resources in and the challenges of any community. And here's the good news about it. Not only is the no-kill equation like a one-size-fits-all kind of a DIY kind of thing, we don't need to convince the public that this is the way to go, because this is what the public wants anyway. We already have enough compassion, animal lovers in every community, that if we tell people, hey, we want to bring about change, help be vocal with us, help us bring about this change, people are totally on board with that, and they can be helped to make better choices which affect the manner in which the animal shelter operates.
Exactly. Sure. I'll say to you, like I said to Mike and I've said to David, you make the goal seem closer. I think before the show, I don't know about everybody else, but I felt like I've just been casting in the water all the time and couldn't get far enough out. Do you know what I mean? And I just needed some sort of ground lines to be going with. Do you know what I mean? I didn't for 1 minute not think that the NYC ACC isn't able to be sorted. I'm just simply saying I needed some sort of direction in some sort of plan with. Do you know what I mean?
Right, I understand. I think that, and Mike probably referred to it this way because I know he does all the time. We consider ours a social movement, one that's working to change our society, because in the United States, I mean, we've been destroying perfectly healthy and treatable animals for decades. It's just what's always been done. And so I think a lot of people who are well-intentioned animal-loving people, even if they have an awareness of what's happening at their local animal shelter, and they may not, but whether we find it outrageous or not, a lot of people just don't know. I mean, I've met people who have said things to me like, well, Aubrie, don't all the animals who end up at the shelter get put up for adoption? And the answer to that 7 years ago was, well, no. 3 out of every 4 of them are destroyed. And when you explain why, I mean, I've seen people cry. They get upset. So whether or not people should know, a lot of them don't. So the key to this is putting it on the public radar to make sure the public knows, while focusing on accountability, municipal accountability for how money is being spent. And I'm going to presume, let's go back to the comparison between New York City and Seagoville, Texas. I'm going to guess that Seagoville, Texas, which has 1 animal control officer, probably has a pretty limited budget. But I'm going to guess that NYCACC has a pretty big budget, and I'm going to guess that they've got a pretty big staff. Keeping in mind, it's not about money. It's about how we spend that money, and we just adopt a different business model. So I think it's workable anywhere. I do think that perhaps the bigger the organization or the bigger the location, the resistance to it may be related to that size. In other words, I think if you're trying to change a small community where maybe not a lot of animals are being sheltered every year anyway, once you get public buy-in and you tell elected officials, look, this is how we want you to spend our money, there sometimes may be pushback, but I think it might be a little bit easier. I think that when you've got an organization as large as the one in New York, I'm going to guess that the attitudes there are kind of calcified. And I do know that a lot of money has been thrown at New York. I don't know figures, but I think that over the years, perhaps millions of dollars have been spent to try to reform it. But that just but it hasn't worked yet. If money was the answer, they'd be done by now. Their culture would have changed by now, right? So that tells us that it's not the money that's important. What's important, it's not the money, it's the method. So I think that it can be applied there. The thing will be just opening the line, getting enough people involved and behind change that will band together and stand up and say, we're better than this and we can do better. And it's not about how much money we're throwing at this. It's about how we're using the resources we have. Now, I think there's opposition. There's always opposition. We had a lot of opposition in Huntsville. I know that Mike has encountered a lot of opposition over the years. I know that Davyd right now is facing opposition in Colorado. And it's kind of inexplicable because a lot of the opposition comes from people that otherwise claim to be animal advocates. But they sometimes are some of the most strident defenders of the destruction of shelter animals under this guise of there's no other way. There's a part of my book, it's based on a blog that I wrote a while back about cognitive dissonance, because this really is a form of cognitive dissonance. People will say, well, I don't want animals to die in my animal shelter, but then they come up with all sorts of ways to rationalize the fact that happens.
Yeah. And the thing is, there is going to be times when a animal shelter, wherever, is going to have to make the decision that there is something wrong with a dog and it's not curable or whatever, and that is always going to happen. Do you know what I mean? There is going to be triggers of things that dogs can't think. But when I look at, like, the NYC ACC at the minute, you know, we've got perfectly healthy dogs that are being killed every single day. I mean, I've been told there's 7 dogs within the last 2 days that are being killed in New York, but there's still spaces in the cages waiting for them.
See, that doesn't make any sense, because what you hear a lot is that there is no other way, just because, you know, there's more of them than we can find homes for. But then invariably in some of these places, like you said, there's empty kennel space. And did Mike or Davyd, did they explain to you how we in our circles, what we mean when we say the phrase no kill? Did they talk about that?
Yes, they did go through, but carry on. Because we've probably got some people that have only joined the show later on, so you carry on.
Okay. Because, and the reason I wanted to bring that up is there's a lot of discussion going on about it now because a lot of people try to paint it in a negative light or try to make it sound like it's controversial, and it really is not. When we say no kill, that means we don't destroy healthy and treatable animals. It doesn't mean animals don't die. I mean, if you have animals that enter an animal shelter who are suffering or they are just so sick that it doesn't matter what you would do, that you would not be able to prolong their lives, those animals are euthanized because that's what the word euthanasia means. It's an act of mercy to prevent or alleviate suffering. Also, there will always be a small number of dogs, and I mean very small, that they're broken. There's something cognitively wrong with them, and their behavior is so unpredictable as to present a public safety risk. Now, having said that, animal shelters are inherently scary places for dogs. So I'm not talking about dogs that may be anxious or fearful or afraid because the environment makes them that way. I'm talking about dogs that after having been evaluated using proven methods really are just so unpredictable that it would be irresponsible to let them out of the shelter and have them be adopted. Like I said, keeping in mind it's a really small percentage of dogs. And the subject of evaluating dogs in an animal shelter, that's probably a subject for a completely different program. I mean, like I said, the way dogs behave in shelters really says more about the shelters than it does about the dogs. So again, no kill, you don't destroy healthy and treatable animals. And I think what it is we want to get back to, we want people to stop using the E word to excuse behavior. And when I say the E word, I'm talking about euthanasia. Like I talked about at the beginning, I mean, when we had our dog euthanized in 2006, it was a heart-wrenching decision. If you've ever had to make the decision to euthanize an animal, you know exactly what that word means. And ending the life of an animal that is suffering or to prevent suffering, that act has nothing at all in common with a shelter destroying a perfectly healthy or treatable animal for space or convenience. So that's why we call it no kill. Even though we use the word kill, we don't call people killers. We don't call people murderers. We don't take the step to apply the act to the actor. In other words, we don't personalize it, right? We don't weaponize the words. It's just saying we don't destroy healthy and treatable animals because that's a choice. We don't have to do that. But that doesn't mean that lives are never ended. It's just we're getting euthanasia back to mean what it really means while we're also balancing public safety for those very small number of dogs that really are dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the other thing with the NYC, we're literally seeing, or I'm being told that quite a few times, that these dogs we're being told that they are dangerous or they're whatever. But I've yet to say that I haven't heard anybody praise yet up a dog evaluator in there to say somebody's and they've actually, where an advocate actually believed that dog was actually dangerous. Do you know what I mean? So in these places that you've dealt with, have we actually had proper checks done on the dogs? Have they stepped all of that up as well?
I think at this point, and Huntsville is a good example of this, it's pretty common for even shelters who make progress to still have trouble with the issue of evaluating dogs, particularly dogs that are over about 40 pounds, that if they are afraid and they engaged in fear biting, or they engage in what's called barrier aggression, which is not really aggression at all. It's like when they charge the kennel door, they're not really well equipped with how to deal with that. And that's an issue with us in Huntsville right now. Even though Huntsville has done a lot better, there are still large numbers of dogs being destroyed every month for what's being classified as behavior, and we think that there are ways to work around that. We have encouraged the city to contract with a part-time behaviorist, just somebody that would come in a few hours a week, somebody that's got some extra qualification and skills that knows how to evaluate dogs in a shelter environment. Because, like I said, when they're in the shelter environment, I mean, their behavior is going to be anything but normal. But to have someone with a heightened level of skill to help evaluate them, develop a plan for their housing, how they're treated. At our shelter in Huntsville, there are large play areas outside, and as it stands right now, those play areas are really underutilized. We know that a lot of dogs get stressed inside the building during the day, and we're encouraging the shelter, get them out of that kennel, out of that concrete kennel where they hear and smell all these other dogs, get them outside, get them running, get them playing, alleviate that stress, and then it will give you a better idea of what their true personalities are. And we're making a little bit of progress in that regard to get the city to do that more. But it is a challenge. It's a challenge everywhere. A lot of shelters will say, well, I think they're not taking all the steps that they could to set every dog up for success.
Yeah. And I think, let's face it, I mean, I've got a dog now, a pup at the moment, and I look at it and I think, gosh, if she went into a kennel, she'd be a mess. Do you know what I mean? And I think all of us could say the same. You know, our dogs go into them sort of places, and they're going to be a mess, and they're expected to behave normally. That is never going to happen. You know, we don't know the stories, half of them, of when they actually came in. And I think it's hard for that. You know, they're literally getting them in and, oh, the dog snapped at whatever and stuff. And it's like, well, hold on a minute, you've only just got it. Do you know what I mean? It's probably just been ripped from its home. It doesn't know what's going on. Suddenly a stranger's in its face and trying to pull its lead or whatever, and you don't know what's happened before it even got there.
Exactly. Well, and I think that's something that people need to consider. I think they need to stop, particularly if they think that there's no other way to function. If people would consider, how would your dog behave in that environment, particularly if your dog got loose due to no fault of your own. Let's say that, you know, you went to work and, you know, a child left a gate open, or a contractor left a door open, or something, you know, your dog got scared from fireworks and jumped over a fence that he had never jumped over before. So your dog is running loose. Your dog is caught by someone using a catch pole, someone they've never met before. They're put in a truck. They're taken to this strange building where they smell other dogs. They smell other people. It's loud. There's barking. How would your dog behave? And wouldn't you want your shelter to be a no-kill facility where healthy and treatable animals are kept alive? You would want your dog kept alive because your dog may show their teeth, they may bark, they may jump, or they may simply shut down and lay down in the back of the kennel and not make any eye contact. They're not going to behave in predictable ways because it's a completely foreign environment that they've never been in before. So even the most well-adjusted dog will not behave normally. The dog that we have now that I'm looking at, that my husband is interacting with in our living room, we got him from an animal shelter in a place called Pell City, Alabama. And when he was in that shelter, they said he had no manners. He had been found running loose with a chain around his neck. He was full of knots. He was heartworm positive, and I don't know if you have issues over there with heartworms like we do here, but in a lot of shelters he would have been destroyed. But, I mean, we adopted him. We brought him home. My husband worked with him for months. I mean, he's just a wonderful dog. He's now heartworm negative now that we've treated him. But in a lot of traditional animal shelters, he simply would have been destroyed, and I think that's the biggest tragedy of all. Yeah. If Miracle, the dog that you spoke of, had ended up in most traditional animal shelters in the United States, she would not have been kept alive. She would not even have had the opportunity to rebound and for you to help her come back. They would have just looked at her and said, "That's it." That it would have. She probably would have been destroyed within minutes of entering the building. Yeah.
And this is the thing that just horrifies me. You know what I mean? It's just horrendous, just absolutely horrendous. But I think there's loads of, you know, it's almost like, you know, like we're saying about New York's got all this money coming into it and has had loads of money into it. Well, my question is, like, why aren't they spending on a behaviourist? Why aren't they spending? And these are the things that we need to be asking. If they've got that much money coming in, why aren't they using that? And it's
well,
like
and why aren't they harnessing the compassion of the public? I mean, I'm not a New Yorker, but I've never even been to New York, but I have a perception about how it functions. I mean, it's a proud city. It's one of the beacons that people visit. It's just, I mean, it's a very organized city. It's a very secure city. It's got a very diverse culture. I mean, people from all over the place, and surely there is a way to take the money that's currently being spent and just spend it in other smarter ways, which are more consistent with public values. And I think that for me, that's the thing. It's not like we're asking shelters to do something that is revolutionary. This is what people want. I mean, in studies and that have been done over here, I mean, the vast majority of Americans think it should be illegal for shelters to destroy healthy and treatable animals. And most certainly, if people's own family pets got lost, whether it's a dog or a cat or some other species of animal, wouldn't you want your own animal kept alive? Now, if your dog got lost and had been run over by a vehicle and just was completely suffering and there was no way to save your animal, well, yes, you wouldn't want euthanasia delayed. You would want your animal euthanized. Yeah. But if it was, because that's what you would do. So in other words, all we want is for shelters to function the same way that consistent with public values, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I would think that in New York, surely people don't think a whole lot differently in New York than they do in Huntsville, Alabama, or in Austin, Texas, or in Lake County, Florida, or in one of the many number of places across the country where animals are being saved. I would almost argue that they are probably more progressive there, which I would think would make the change easier. Yeah.
I'd like to just give somebody a shout out, actually. I don't know if you've seen her, but she's on Facebook, and she's called Crystal Subers, and she's actually going to the Philly animal shelter, and she's doing videos. She's literally going around the shelter and doing individual pictures, and she's literally saying, right, there's 5 dogs today, and they're time-stamped, and we need to get them out, and this and the other. And she is absolutely phenomenal in what she's doing. Do you know what I mean? And I think this comes back to the same things again. When we say to, like us advocates can see an easy picture, right? It's as simple as, why can't they just let every single day, say 2 times a day, where one advocate could go through every single dog and video and talk about them, and then move on to the next one and go through the whole lot of them so that we can get them all out of there.
That's a big part of it. It comes down to marketing, right?
Yes,
and
exactly.
The thing is,
they wouldn't even have to
people
pay
can't
for
react
that, would they?
to the need if they don't know about the need, right?
Exactly.
So it all comes back to putting this on the public radar so that the public knows what's going on using their money, and then once you bring people into the conversation, then things change. That is one thing, to Huntsville's credit, even though there are still some things that we would like them to work on. One of the things that they've begun doing better is better marketing of their animals. They've got people in there taking what pretty much constitute glamour photos. I mean, it's really good photography. They've got people taking short videos, and when you see posts about them, whether it's on the website or on their Facebook page, it's saying, it's talking about the dog's personality and highlighting what's positive about them. And sometimes they have people take them for sleepovers or maybe a day trip where they take them out for a few hours and then explain how that experience went and how they did when they were outside the shelter environment. And it's actually helped quite a bit, because it's one thing to see kind of a dreary photo of a dog inside a kennel, right? But then when you present that dog or cat in a different light so that people have a positive reaction to what they're seeing, but then you tell them, look, there's still the need. We need to get them out. We need to get them out of this environment. Then people react to that in a positive way. If it's too much negativity, then people can have a tendency to get emotionally overloaded, and they can kind of tune out. So I'm all about positive marketing and bringing people in a positive way so that they'll feel compelled to consider that animal as the next member of their family.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, like when I look at Crystal, she's so, how can I put it? She's so lively, and she's like going up to dogs and speaking to them and everything, and I think, do you know, this is what, like, that in New York they're missing out on, because there's so many advocates that are literally ready to go and do that. They wouldn't even have to pay for it, would they? Let's be fair.
Exactly.
There's loads of advocates there that would literally say, I'll go in, I'll video. We could do it on a rota, or we could do it on whatever you want, but there's things they wouldn't even have to pay for to make a change.
Well,
because
and that's one of the 11 elements of the no-kill equation is volunteer programs, because there are so many things that volunteers can do, from coming in and walking dogs, running with dogs, playing with cats. I mean, there are reading programs where children come into shelters or volunteers come into shelters and read to animals or even sing to them or play instruments or take good photographs of them or video them or take them out on little trips, to learn more about them. So you're right. There are just so many things that volunteers can do. And here's the thing now. When a shelter says that it's going to change its culture and it's not going to destroy those healthy and treatable animals anymore, that's when people are more apt to volunteer. If you have an animal shelter where people know that healthy and treatable animals are being destroyed, a lot of people just don't want to be complicit in that. But then when you tell them, hey, we're not going to do that anymore, and invite them to come down and be part of it, people are more apt to have a positive reaction to that because they know that the animals with which they interact are going to be kept alive.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the other question I want to ask you, within that, I've actually said in the last few weeks about every single day we are pledging on top of these dogs, which I am not knocking any advocates because they are amazing. You've got people who haven't got a lot of money that only can afford $5. You've got more that are doing $50, $100, and the list goes on. So I actually said, wouldn't it be good if we could maybe get some billboards or posters or anything done in New York where we could put some money in, but it would actually go towards saving loads of dogs and cats, not just, put it onto one dog, and I'm not knocking that, but I'm looking at the bigger picture. We need to be making a bigger impact so that, because not everybody's on social media. Not everybody is on our groups, do you know what I mean, and stuff. So we may be missing a very, very big audience out there that didn't, one, like you said, didn't know that it's even happening, or two, they're just not on social media and they've not seen it.
Right. No, you're leading to another element of the no-kill equation, which is it's public relations and community involvement. You have to bring the public in because, like you said, a lot of people don't do social media, and there are lots of ways to do that. I mean, you can do it through television, you can do it through radio, but the one thing that you mentioned, that's one of the things that we did in Huntsville. In Huntsville, there are billboards all over the place along the roadways, right? And some of them are static billboards where it just has one image, like it's a big piece of vinyl that somebody went and hung up, and they just stay in place for a long time. But what we did was we contacted a company that does electronic billboards where the image changes like every 5 or 6 seconds, and they gave us a deal, and we were able to, through donations and just us chipping in some of our money just together, we were able to get some electronic billboard space, and I don't remember how many hundreds of dollars it was a month, but like for a month, we could get billboard space, and they would run 5 or 6 different images that we provided to them. And it wasn't just our image. I mean, it was in between paid advertising, right? But our billboard said things like, and of course this is a Huntsville thing because we're called the Rocket City, saving shelter pets isn't rocket science. And we had somebody who had photoshopped an astronaut and put a dog head on it. There was another one that said, we call them the Samstronaut. People really loved that one. I'll have to email that one to you. And that's part of why I called my book is called Not Rocket Science. But anyway, we had another billboard that said, we're compassionate enough to save shelter pets. We had another one that said, we're progressive enough to save shelter pets. And then it had the name of our group, No Kill Huntsville. So we were just trying to send empowering, positive messages while getting the word no kill out there. And getting people to think about it. And those billboards actually had a lot of effect. We got a lot of positive response to that. And New York could do something really similar. I mean, positive marketing. Your next best friend is waiting for you at NYCACC. Come visit our great dogs. Come see our great cats. Something that's positive, in other words, not the negative, but something that's positive or empowering that may catch an audience in a way that you may not otherwise. And I think you're right. I mean, that's the way to do it. If we can buy electronic billboard space in Alabama, I know they can buy it in New York.
Yeah. But do you know what? This leads me to the next thing, right? The trouble is, and I'm going to have a little bit of a rant here, right? I have had loads of people say to me that they want media exposure for whatever their story may be, right? And I'll be honest, I've been on Twitter, Facebook, and everything, messaging loads of different celebrities, loads of different radios, and all different sorts of people from all over the place, right? And I've not got much response back. And then I'm saying to people, could you please share the show out there because I really need to get it out there. And I've looked on people's profiles, and the ones that have shouted the loudest, and I've looked on their profiles, and they've not even shared the show.
Right,
and I'm like, you're all saying you want a media voice, but I'm like stood there with my hands up going, hiya, here I am. And I'm like, you haven't shared it. Do you know what I mean? And this is the thing, it's about us all helping each other. It's like, if somebody falls, you need to pick them back up, you know what I mean? If somebody puts something out there, grab hold of it and take it along with you. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. You know, this is
I agree.
about...
And I think that comes into people actually being outraged enough or being upset enough to actually do something about it. I mean, it's easy to put a simple post on Facebook or put a comment on Facebook or whatever, but I think we have to own our outrage. And if it's important enough to us, we need to act on it, and we need to take advantage of the tools that we have. I mean, I see me talking to you as taking advantage of a tool. It's a wonderful opportunity for which I thank you very much. We just have to find any way that we can to help spread the message and communicate, and I do appreciate the opportunity. So it's unfortunate that people are not sharing it as much as they could because you're giving them a platform.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like I keep saying to everybody, you know, it's about helping each other, because I'm hoping, this is my hope, right? This is my bigger picture, right? I'm thinking to myself, imagine we've got a radio show, right? We've got all these amazing advocates on different walks of life doing different things, right? Imagine if we can get all them doing all different things. We've got a radio show to do it. I've just had 3, including yourself, amazing people on that have made a difference in New York and the US and everywhere, right? And I'm thinking, imagine if we could sort out New York, and then you 3 can say you've sorted out such and such areas, right? And we could do a ripple effect where we could actually do the whole of the US because we managed to do them.
Right.
Just, now, suddenly, sharing 1 and 2 dogs that really peck my head something mad because I want to do a bigger equation seems more where I can actually reach that now.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
And I think it is possible, because I think that the more places where it happens, and particularly with bigger places, then it becomes, it can have a positive ripple effect. It can become infectious in a good way, because then people will say, well, if they can do it there, we can do it here.
Yeah, but the thing is, people are saying we need to have media exposure. Well, okay, I'm just a little radio, but do you know what I'm going to be putting on YouTube? I can be sharing still, and we can be looking back on this in however many weeks, months, and years, right? But the other side is, I look and I think, do you know what, just imagine that some big radio broadcaster or TV broadcaster is looking from New York, and he looks at the show and he looks at the links and he says, oh, it's not really much point doing that. It's not much of a story. It's only had however many shares. Why would we do that to it? Do you know what I mean? It's about getting it out there. We've actually got a place where we can all join. I'm literally thinking, like, after once me and you finish, I'm actually going to have probably, say, 3/4 of an hour where I'll probably have the phone lines open so that everybody can, within reason, I'll say, call in and calmly say about the New York situation, but be able to air their views. But the thing is, I don't want it where it sounds where everybody's shouting, everybody's not happy. I know all that, but I want somewhere where people can actually talk about it. Do you know what I mean? But where are we going to get this? Where are we going to get this from anywhere else?
Exactly. No, I understand, and I hope people can do that. I mean, it's a passionate subject, and that there are opinions on both sides. But I think if everybody can agree at the start, regardless of what side they're on or what they believe in, that we all do want the same thing, and that's to keep healthy and treatable animals alive, then it doesn't have to be personal. We just have to figure out how we forge that path. And again, I'm a proponent of the no-kill equation because I believe it works, and I believe it can be molded and shaped to fit any community, and I think that's a great place to start a conversation.
And just to say that, Aubrie, for the record as well, just so the listeners know, we are going to get Aubrey's link put onto the Ask Sue radio show page and the AGM for NYC ACC page as well. The link to her book will be on there as well. And I will be honest, Aubrie, I will be buying it as soon as I get off as well.
I appreciate that very much. I did check, and it's on Amazon, and of course it's on the Amazon site for the U.S., but it's also on the UK site for Amazon, so you can find it there.
And once I get it, I'll take a picture and I'll tag you in it, and you can see that it's got to the UK. Okay?
That'll work. Sounds like a plan, Sue. I appreciate your time.
But no, it's been absolutely brilliant. So, have you got any websites you want to give a shout out to before we finish?
If people are beyond the book, I have a lot of information on my website. It's called pauseforchange.com. It's PAWS, the number 4, and then change.com. And it's just got some general information. It's the kind of information that I think I didn't know before, and so I'm trying to help educate people that way. There's also some good information on our No Kill Huntsville website, which is just nokillhuntsville.com. And Mike probably already mentioned his website. It's No Kill Learning. And then there's also another website called No Kill Movement, which is a group of people that I'm a part of that has a lot of good content there. And also the website for the No Kill Advocacy Center, getting back to the No Kill equation and the book that was written by Nathan Winograd. I think that's very important because that's kind of the foundation for all that we promote, because I mean, he published the equation. It was more than 10 years ago, but it's just as valid today as it was all those years ago. So those are all great websites for people that are just looking to educate themselves in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. I'm so glad you come on the show. Thank you so, so much. And if
Thank you for the opportunity, Sue. I appreciate it. I'll be looking for that photo of you with the book.
Oh, yes, you'll definitely be seeing that. I promise you that, definitely. And if you get a chance to speak to Nathan, could you please ask him to come on the show? I'd love to get him on the show.
I'd be happy to pop him an email and encourage him to get in touch with you.
Yes, that would be fantastic. But listen, Aubrie, thank you so, so much for spending the time. I know at the end of the day that you've been really busy, and I know you've took time out today for me, so I really appreciate that. Thank you so, so much.
I appreciate the opportunity with you, too. Thanks for your time, Sue.
Okay, I'll speak to you very soon.
Okay, bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye. Oh, my goodness. Time is ticking. Do you know what? Just to let you know, guys, I could honestly say I feel a bit Chinese right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have just a 2-minute tune while I literally just grab a drink, and then we'll be back for the last hour. If you want to call in, it's going to be 323-870-3861. So that's 323-870-3861. And what I'll do is I'll open the phone lines, and what we'll do is I will literally let people just ring in for, say, 5 or 10 minutes or 5 minutes, just so that we can let everybody have a little bit of a talk and everything and literally say about what you're doing. So if you want to call in, it's 323-870-3861. So we'll just have a little bit of a tune, and then I'll be going to the phone lines. I'll speak to you all very soon. Bye-bye. Hi, and welcome back to the Ask Sue show at literally 7 minutes past 1 in the morning in the UK. Yeah, I'm still awake. I am on my, I think, third or fourth coffee now, and so we're doing really well. Just want to give a big shout out to Mike Fry, David Smith, and Aubrie Kavanaugh. What a fantastic lot they've been. Absolutely inspirational in it all, so thank you so, so much for that. Also, just going to do a quick shout out as well to get well soon to Marissa. Marissa is literally not very well at all. She's been in hospital, and so that's literally from us all. Hope you get better really, really soon, Marissa. And I know you're going to be coming on this show soon to literally talk about the in dogs and that in Japan and China. So I hope you get better really, really soon. Just to let you all know as well, please go and join the Ask Sue radio show page. It's www.facebook.com /Ask Sue radio show. And also, please go to the Facebook page for the AGM for NYCACC. Okay? All of these links will be on the Ask Sue radio show page and the AGM for NYCACC. Maybe I'm getting a bit tired now. But by all means, join things. And please, please make sure that you share the show. Okay? Because at the end of the day, sharing the show and adding people to this page means we get a bigger voice. So at the moment, you know, if you all add your friends, that means we can literally double the exposure and really get out there. So how big you want your media voice is up to you. Don't add your friends, we don't get a bigger voice. This is not about being on our own. This is about us joining forces. I'm going to be doing another show next week, more literally on the New York ACC. We need to be getting this sorted. So I'll be getting more people on. I've got a few people that couldn't come on tonight, and they're literally wanting to come on next week. So literally we have got follow-up shows from this, and literally stepping up the gear even more. So a big thank you to everybody that has shared. There's been some absolutely amazing people that have even done their own blogs for me and everything, getting the show out there. So thank you very much. I'm bitterly disappointed to see that some people have literally, I've gone on profiles and not even shared it or anything, and that's really disappointing, especially when we're so needing to get it out there. So, yeah, please, even after the show, share the links, because we'll literally be able to put it on, but it will be going on my YouTube channel as well. So all of those links will be going in the Ask Sue radio show page. So if you want to call in, 323-870-3861. That's 323-870-3861. I'll literally be taking calls and letting people think, and then we'll see how we get on, okay? So we'll go to the first caller, 646. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hello?
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 Hello, yes, you? Hi?
Oh, you can hear me?
I can.
Sue? How are you? It's
okay, thank you. Who's speaking?
Thanks for having me on. Thank you for doing this show. You did a great job with Davyd and Aubrie and Mike Fry. It was fantastic. Teaching about the no-kill equation.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I didn't share your show because I was restricted on Facebook. On Facebook, so I wasn't able to share your show since last night.
Oh, there's been a few that have been restricted on Facebook and Twitter, to be fair.
Yes, and yes. Now, and people can listen to it, right, by just tuning into the link, right?
Yes.
They can listen to the recording, correct?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Okay, so I will share that link in every group I get out of jail tomorrow. Out of Facebook jail. Okay, and on Twitter.
Yeah, excellent. Mm-hmm. I know that Twitter had gone down this afternoon because I was literally sharing, and the next minute I couldn't do anything. I spoke to a few people and they said, no, it's gone down. I was like, oh, just great. Just what I could do without right now.
Yeah, I spend more time in under Facebook restriction than I do, being able to share in groups. So
exactly.
So Sue, we need support for the Companion Animal Protection Act in New York. If people should go to Nathan Winograd's site, nathanwinograd.com, or Nathan Winograd on Facebook or Twitter, and they can look for signs about CAPA. He will update people on progress of New York CAPA, which has a sponsor in the New York State Assembly, and we're still looking for a sponsor in the Senate, and it will be introduced shortly. It will be the only way to end the killing, not only at New York City ACC, but at hundreds of kill pounds across the state.
Okay. The only thing I'll say is, like, at the moment, and this is what I've said all through the show, is like, I look, and I'm not being funny, I just get my head's blown because there is so many people saying so many things, and we literally need to unite. And that's why I've set up the AGM for NYC ACC, because I couldn't make no sense of everywhere else was just bombarding, or there was arguing, or there was whatever. And I was like, if I'm literally an outsider and I'm trying to help, and I am literally getting my mind blown, then what on earth am I expecting people to do when I'm trying to say to people, look, come and help us? What are they going to find? Do you know what I mean? So that's why I've literally got on. I've got next week's show I've got coming up. I've got some great people coming on, and it's literally about uniting people and making a difference, and literally getting everybody on the same page. I feel like at the moment we've literally got a book with about 50 pages, and there's various people on different pages. Do you know what I mean?
What do you think we should do, Sue?
I just think we need to. I just think we literally need to unite. If every single people, all the people are saying that we need to get the media on board, right? I'm quite happy to be that media on board, where everybody can literally join forces on the radio, where we can all start singing from the same page. Everybody wants to is doing different things, and they're all, and I'm not knocking anybody, right, for this. Let me just say, I'm not knocking anybody, because everybody's passionate about getting the same answer, but we're just not going through the same way. Do you know what I mean? You imagine the NYC ACC are on Facebook today, right, and you just think about what you've seen today on there. What do you think that the NYC ACC are looking at?
I don't know, but they killed Monty and they killed Sport 2 days ago, and today they killed Rufus and Caesar, and those are just the dogs we know about. New York City ACC killed more animals last year than the year before, and volunteers volunteered 2,000, donated 2,000 less hours last year than in the year before. So, you know, when they kill, the more they kill, the less people want to be engaged in helping this shelter. It's just bad news, and they avoid it. So also dog adoptions are down 3 years in a row. So things are getting worse there, not better. But we need a law, and it's the only way to stop them. We need a new law. There ought to be a law. And it's the Companion Animal Protection Act. New York CAPA. And
so where can they actually? Have we got a website that they can go to for this? You know, or can we? Or even if you want to send me the links to it, I'll put it on my page at the end of the show, because then we can all go to the same page. Because otherwise, they're going to be going all everywhere. I know what everybody's like. They always say to me, well, they didn't get all the links. So we'll put all the links on the Ask Sue radio show after the show.
Absolutely. You can go to Campaign for New York CAPA, Campaign for New York CAPA on Facebook, and you should especially stay close to Nathan Winograd on Facebook and Twitter. We're working very closely with him. He actually he wrote the law, CAPA. So if you follow Nathan, you can follow, and there will be steps to take and actions to take to help us actually legislate the no-kill equation, which is what CAPA does. It actually compels shelters
and that's what we've been saying
to
about
follow
tonight, isn't
the
it?
no-kill equation. the model that will that can save probably upwards of 99% of all animals could be saved by that model.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, tonight they were just saying that, you know, one of the states, they've done 95%. Well, that's fantastic. Do you know what I mean? And that's that is with that no-kill equation. So we need to be looking, definitely. We needed a guideline, and I've not seen a guideline, and that is what I was wanting. I was like, right, I want to do something, but I need a guideline to be going against. And that's what everybody else needed as well, I think.
I heard you say that, and I was so glad to see they were talking about the no-kill equation, because even so many advocates in New York don't really know what it is, that these basic steps can actually be implemented overnight to stop the killing. And advocates themselves don't necessarily know it, so it's difficult to meet with legislators and to try to convince them that this can actually work if we don't believe it ourselves. You know, and it really does work. It works in every socioeconomic setting and every region of the United States. There are hundreds of no-kill shelters that are saving all healthy and treatable animals all across the United States right now. And it's applicable in small shelters and large ones like New York City, ACC. Yeah, definitely. Well, do you know, I'm feeling better now that we know that, you know, we can get somewhere, we've got somewhere we can go where it's literally all connecting, then I think that's good. Definitely. Me too. Definitely. Now, what was the other thing I was going to say? So, literally, so what we'll do is I was literally going to put all that onto the page after the show, and I'll put all the links on. So at least then everybody will be in the same place then. And if you get a chance to speak to Nathan, ask him to come on the show, because I have messaged him actually, but I've literally I've bombarded everybody with messages. I absolutely will. We talk to him regularly, and I will. Yeah. I will endorse your show to Nathan. Yeah, and definitely. Even predict that he I don't even predict he might come on. But don't get me, don't hold me to it. But I think he might. Yeah. It's a great show.
Well, we've got a few different people coming on, so that'll be good. If we can get him on as well, that'll be great. That'll be great. Okay, well, thank you very much for calling in.
Thank you.
I will speak to you very soon.
Thank you. Campaign for New York CAPA on Facebook. Thank you.
Will do. We will.
Thank you, Sue.
All right. Catch you later. Cheers, love. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
We will be putting all of the Facebook links and all the links and everything from tonight's show on the Ask Sue radio show page, and also AGM for NYC ACC. So let me go to the... hold on one second. Let me just go to the next caller. Hi, welcome to the show, 718.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes. I'm not sure if you're speaking to me. 718, that's my area code.
It's you? Yes. Hi, how are you doing?
It's me. Hi, how are you? I'm actually my name is Joanne Sample. I'm an animal advocate, and I am the gentleman who was just on. We are working together with so many others to have CAPA implemented within New York City shelters, the ACC Animal Care Centers. It's an uphill battle. They've fought for it before, I understand, and powerful advocacy groups came and they lobbied against it, and then it just got swept under the rug. But it's something that I have been following for quite some time. I've someone else a little earlier was on your show. I think his name was Mike. I didn't catch his last name. He said you have to educate yourself. And I have wrote, not only have I written about it, a novel about it, I've also read, which has in my appendix, the No-Kill Equation 101, given by the No-Kill Advocacy Group of Mr. Wintergrad, permission to put it in there because I think it's something that is fantastic. That's exactly what they need in animal care centers. They change it from animal care and control to animal care centers, but it really doesn't match because the care is not there. What I think it is, Sue, is first of all, people don't like change. And like Mike had said, and I believe he was the one who said it, they don't like change. They don't like to be wrong. They have been told that this is the way it's supposed to go. They're used to it. It's easy. Even the techs that perform the euthanasia themselves, and it might haunt them, they believe they're doing the right thing. And I believe that what it is not only that, they don't want to be wrong. They don't want to take the time to implement something like CAPA in order for it can become no-kill. These healthy dogs and cats, beautiful dogs and cats, and they're being put down, and I understand, without any anesthesia. So their last few moments on this earth is on a cold steel table, terrified, and then I understand that the injection is like liquid fire, and that's their last moments on earth. And I want to know why. Why won't you just take the extra time? I'll come there and I'll work for free. I'm sure there's a lot of people that can and help you to do what you need to do to get this going, because it's not about them, it's about the animals. If you are calling yourself animal care centers, then you are supposed to care for them. They're coming. A shelter is a place where you go to be protected, not to be killed, not to be mistreated. Then they spay and neuter them, and then days sometimes after spay and neuter them, they kill them. They spay and neuter them over, I believe, that the ASPCA, which is a modern facility. They bring them back to a filthy shelter, which is running wild with respiratory illnesses. They're already weakened from the surgery. They get sick, and then they kill them. You put them through spay and neutering, and they came into your facility healthy. They got sick, and then you kill them. There's dogs that are hit and hurt, and they're sitting there. There was one where was pulled for pounds for hounds, which fell a lot from the shelter, from ACC, and she died. They pulled her, and we were so happy she was rescued. And then we got someone posted on Facebook from the shelter themselves, the head of the shelter, that they had to euthanize her because she sat there. She had a cancerous mass that bled out, and she was bleeding. They showed blood-soaked pads, and she had BB pellets inside of her. And she sat there for 2 weeks like that. And so when she was rescued, there was just nothing they could do for her but to euthanize her. And I've gotten so many reports that they come in there healthy, and they rescue them, and they're sick, and the rescuers themselves have a gag order. So they're afraid to speak out that they're getting these sick dogs and cats, and when they enter the shelter, it's healthy. CAPA would eliminate all of that. They need complete shelter reform. But what I think it is they don't want to bother. Like Mike said earlier, they simply don't care. But guess what? We do care. You do care. That is why you have this radio show. That is why we are campaigning for CAPA. And I get real emotional about this, just like you do, Sue, because it's a calling and a passion of mine. I have 3 rescues myself. I had 4. One died last year, and then my daughter also has a kitten that she actually found in a playground. So that would have been 5 rescues. And we are big animal advocates. My granddaughter wants to be a vegan. We're just our heart, but I'm the fanatic in the family. They look at me and like she's at it again because I cannot rest, Sue. I cannot rest until this is implemented, and I believe it'll be like a domino effect. New York gets it, it'll just fall all over. Because someone said, the lady right before you started taking calls, she said she would believe that Huntsville, she's from Huntsville, she believed, and I've been listening to you since you started this show today, she said that it was she believes that New York would be even more progressive. That's not true. They're not. They're behind. They're behind. They have the same laws. They're operating the same way because they don't want to embrace change. Now, I think it's a lot more insidious things, but we're not going to even go there. So we need CAPA implemented, and groups that fight against CAPA are not really animal friendly, and they don't have the best interests of the animals. And we were just speaking before the Health Advisory Board, the animal, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to read through this really quickly. We were just at the Committee on Health for Animals, the Animal Health Committee at City Hall few weeks ago, and we asked them to introduce a bill, and we need that as well. We need people to call their city council members. We can, if you go on New York CAPA or on Facebook, I can get the links for you and I can send them to you where they can learn more about this. We had asked them to introduce Intro 1478, which would create a Department of Animal Welfare and Animal Advisory Board to replace Department of Health in control of New York City Animal Care and Control. New York City Department of Health should not be regulating animals. They're not pests. You need an animal advisory board that cares about the animals, that know how to go about things, and that have the best interests of the animals at hand, or at heart, I should say. I don't believe the Department of Health has it, but they're fighting to keep it. They just was awarded a 34-year contract from Mayor de Blasio to keep up the same practices. This can't happen. The animals will have no recourse but to continuously be murdered over and over again. Beautiful, healthy animals that could be someone's pet, that could save someone's life, that could just enhance the living, of the human that has adopted them. And also we had introduced Intro 1502, which requires the New York City ACC to report conditions surrounding euthanasia and the actions they took to avoid it, to additionally create a task force to recommend changes in policies and laws, which haven't been changed in years. We're not progressive. We're behind the times, and we need to step up and be the progressive city that we are known to be in our animal care centers so that we can go no-kill. CAPA needs to be implemented. These intros need to be implemented. And I really think that then we can be what it is we're supposed to be, humane and caring individuals. If we were going to abuse animals, we should have just left them wild years ago and not domesticated them. When I started to get into this, I have learned the horrors that make my hair stand up on end. I mean, human beings. You had said something earlier about a human being being the worst, more than a Rottweiler. A human being.
Yep.
Are you kidding me? We need to stop that. But some people you will never change. But that's okay. People like us can change it. And like Mike said, we can't go away. They're hoping we're going to go away, but we are not going to go away until you do the right thing, until you do right by these animals. And that is what has to happen. We are progressively and actively fighting for this, but the opposition is incredible. You have groups calling who got officials elected, calling them and having them block CAPA. And it's just like an uphill climb, but that's okay. I need to climb some stairs and some hills because maybe I'll lose some weight. I'm ready for the climb.
Hey, stop. I keep telling everybody it's muscle.
No, I'm not going to lie. It's not muscle. But we are passionate about this, but you're right. We need more organization. We need to be all on the same page, not all over the place. And we are trying, but we have to implement a plan and try harder. There's lots more stuff on the No Kill Advocacy site that Mr. Windegrad, and hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I have to read. I've read a lot of it, but there's much more I have to read because I need to be an expert on it. Because when I sit and talk to someone, I need to know what I'm talking about. I need to look and sound like I know what I'm talking about. That's the only way they're going to pay attention. Yeah. So I guess I've said every single thing that I wanted to say, but we need this done, and we need it yesterday because they did kill 2 beautiful dogs today, and I'm sure there were more. There's more silent kills than ever, and I don't understand. I don't understand why. What is it that they are getting from this? Because adoption brings money into community. They buy supplies for the dogs. They utilize vet care. I mean, it's just a win-win situation. So I don't understand why you prefer to kill them than to generate income within the community and save a life. Lives that have saved ours many times over. I've been even saved by my own Chihuahua. I have a autoimmune disease that will affect my breathing because it affects your muscles and it affected my diaphragm, and I couldn't breathe. And when you like that, it's a medical emergency, but I couldn't alert anybody to it. But my Chihuahua saw I was struggling, so he started to howl, that little 6-pound guy, like you've never heard it. And it's because of him that I got the help that I needed. It's a lady who, and I always quote this, a stray pit bull, and I'll say this and leave, was walking down the street. He saw a lady being attacked by a nice, willing person, man, and he went to her defense. He didn't even know this woman. He went to her defense. He fought for her. He was stabbed 7 times, collapsed more than once, but he got up and kept fighting for a woman he didn't know, and she's alive today because of him. You can Google it. He's up for adoption. The police officers, when they found him, they took him and they got him all the care, and he coded on the table, and they fought to save him because he was a tremendous hero. There's animals like that an animal can control. Instead of killing them, they could be saving someone's life.
Exactly. Exactly right.
No-brainer.
Exactly.
No-brainer.
Well, listen, thank you so much for calling into the show. I'm going to move on to the caller, but thanks so much. Please share the show link and join my page.
I shall. Absolutely. Thank you, and thanks for requesting me as a friend.
All right, then, love. Thank you ever so much. Cheers. Bye-bye.
All right. Be blessed. Bye.
And we've got so many more passionate people, haven't we, on the show, to be fair. Absolutely amazing. If you want to call into the show, by all means do. It's 323-870-3861. That's 323-870-3861. By all means, you can go to the Facebook page, Ask Sue Radio Show. That's Ask Sue Radio Show, okay? You can literally go on that. And then also we've got the AGM for NYC ACC page. That's literally going to have all the links. Literally will be put on there, and some guidance of what we need to be doing to be able to fight this. So by all means, go to those pages and join us. If anybody wants to call in, 323-870-3861. It is coming close to my bedtime, to be fair. Also, I've got a website which I'm actually going to be updating in the next few days. So if you want to go and have a look at that, it's www.asksue.co.uk. If there's anybody else who's listening in and you want to just have a quick call, what you thought about the show, who do you think we need to be on, by all means, give us a call, 323-870-3861. Also, I've been asked what my email address is. Right, there's 2. You can either do hello@asksue.co.uk, or there's asksueshow@gmail.com. Or you can actually go to my website, asksue.co.uk, and you will see all of the, there's a literally where you can message me straight from the website, so if you want to go on there. Also, if you literally log into Blog Talk Radio, you can click the follow button, and then you won't miss any more of my shows. So we'll obviously be having more advocate shows literally coming up, and also obviously the one about the NYC ACC, that'll be next week as well. So if you don't want to miss the show, by all means go and click the link. It's literally just a follow button. Click that, and then it'll let you literally have emails all of the time. So by all means, literally join that. Literally, we've got the chat room open. All the links are going in there that you need as well for the pages. So if anybody thinks, very quickly then, just a quick shout, 323-870-3861. Let me just see if there was anything else that I need to literally say. I think I've got everybody else, actually. I think we're actually caught up with everything. So if anybody wants to give us a quick call in before I call it a night, seeing that it is coming up to 25 to 2 in the morning. It's no wonder I'm feeling like I'm talking a load of rubbish. Hey. Anyway, we're getting to the end. But if also, just to let you know, Tuesdays we've actually got the psychic shows as well. Join us for that. Monday we usually have an advocate show. So that's literally if you've got a group that you would like to talk about, or if there's anything you would like to, it's literally call in and literally we can talk about that. Wednesdays is usually the Agony Aunt show. And then Thursday and Friday we usually have it where it's going to be whatever's needed at the time. So obviously that'll be for the New York people, for the NYC ACC. By all means, please keep an eye on the pages because we will be giving updates on how we've got on. And if you've actually missed the show, you've just joined us, you can actually listen to the whole show. We'll put the link straight back on the Ask Sue radio show page so you can actually click and listen there. It is 2 parts. So you've got 2 hours for the first part, and then you've got the other 2 hours on the second. It will all be going onto YouTube as well, so you'll be able to go and sit there. We'll put all the links onto the page. Well, by the looks of it, we have literally coming to the end of the show. I don't think there's anybody else who wants to call in. So it's 323-870-3861. If you want to go to asksue.co.uk, please... Very quickly, I've just posted into the actual, in the chat room, we've got loads of stuff being put in. Just please remember, you're all asking for a media voice. So what I'm going to ask you is this, just one small favour. Add and invite all of your friends to the Ask Sue radio show page. To get this show out there, I need to get more numbers to it. If you need a bigger voice for whatever your campaign is, then we need more people on that radio show. So by all means, share the show, share the pages, and let's really get it out there to make a difference. So I want to thank, again, let me just go through and thank all of my guests, Mike Fry, Davyd Smith, Aubrie Kavanaugh, and also literally everybody that's literally messaged, called in, and everything. I want to thank all of you. You've been absolutely amazing. If anybody wants to give me an email after the show, if you want to tell me how you thought the show went or you've got any ideas, email hello@asksue.co.uk. So that's hello@asksue.co.uk. So thank you very much to everybody who's literally joined me on the show, and I hope you have a lovely rest of the evening. Please go and tell your friends about the Ask Sue radio show, and wish you all a very good night. Goodbye.
Attention all you rule breakers, you misfits and troublemakers, all you free spirits and pioneers, all you visionaries and nonconformists. Everything the establishment has told you is wrong with you is actually what's right with you. You see things others don't. You are hardwired to change the world. Unlike 9 out of 10 people, your mind is irrepressible, and this threatens authority. You were born to be a revolutionary. You can't stand rules because in your heart you know there's a better way. You have strengths dangerous to the establishment, and it wants them eliminated. So your whole life you've been told your strengths were weaknesses. Now I'm telling you otherwise. Your impulsivity is a gift. Impulses are your key to the miraculous. Your distractibility is an artifact of your inspired creativity. Your mood swings reflect the natural pulse of life. They give you unstoppable energy when you're high, and deep soulful insight when you're low. Been diagnosed with a disorder? That's society's latest way to deny its own illness by pointing the finger at you. Your addictive personality is just a symptom of your vast, underused capacity for heroic creative expression and spiritual connection. Your utter lack of repression, your wide-eyed idealism, your unmitigated open mind. Didn't anyone ever tell you? These are the traits shared by the greatest pioneers and visionaries, innovators, revolutionaries, procrastinators, and drama queens, activists on the social scene, space cadets, and mavericks, philosophers, and derelicts, business suits flying fighter jets, football stars. substrate of the cosmos. It guides the very current of time and space. The way is known by some as the will of God, divine providence, the Holy Spirit, the implicate order, the Tao, reverse entropy, light force, but for now, we'll simply call it the way. The way is reflected in you as the source of your inspiration, the source of your passions, your wisdom, your enthusiasm, your intuition, your spiritual fire, love. The way takes the chaos out of the universe and breathes life into it, giving it divine order. The way, when expressed by the mind, is genius. When perceived through the eyes, is beauty. When felt through the senses, is grace. When allowed into the heart, is love. Most people cannot sense the way directly, but then there are the wayseers, the keepers of the flame. Wayseers have an unexplainable knack for just knowing the way. They sense it in their very being. They can't tell you why or how they arrived at the right answer. They just know it in their core. They can't show their work, so don't ask. Their minds simply resonate with the way. When the way is present, so are they. Blind to it, and society begs you to ignore it. The way stirs you inside. Neurological repression blocks most people's awareness of the way. Censoring all thoughts and impulses from the unconscious is their prefrontal cortex, the Gestapo of the brain. Nothing which violates its socialized programming even gets through. But your mind is different. Your mind has been cracked wide open to the way. By some miraculous genetic trait, some psychotropic chemical, or maybe even by the will of your own soul, your brain's reward pathways have been hijacked, dopamine employed to overthrow the fascist dictatorship of your prefrontal cortex. Now your brain is free of repression, your mind free of censorship, your awareness exposed to the turbulent seas of the unconscious. Through this open doorway, divine light shines into your consciousness, showing you the way. This is what makes you a wayseer. 90% of human civilization is populated with those whose brains are blocked to the way. Their brains are hardwired to enforce the social programming indoctrinated since birth. Unlike you, they cannot break out of this programming because they have not yet experienced the necessary revolution of mind. These programmed people take social institutions and rules very seriously. Society is full of games programmed to keep people's minds occupied so they will not revolt. These games often cause sick fixations on peculiar protocols, power structures, taboos, and domination, all subtle forms of human bondage. This distinct form of madness is not only tolerated by the masses, but insisted upon. The programmed ones believe in rules so forcefully, they become willing to destroy anyone who violates them. Wayseers are the ones who call their bluff. Since wayseer minds are free to reject social programming, wayseers readily see these social institutions for what they are, imaginary games. Wayseers comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. Helping those who are lost in these games and refuse to help themselves is the calling of many wayseers. Since wayseers are the ones who keep contact with the original source of reality, they are able to disrupt societal conventions and even governments to realign humanity with the way. The wayseers are an ancient lineage, a kind of priesthood, carriers of the flame, ones in the know. There must always be